The office fell silent the moment her words hit the room. "You're fired," she said, her voice sharp and deliberate, echoing against the glass walls. Every head turned. Phones stopped mid-tap. Pens hovered above papers. He felt their eyes like 1,000 tiny lasers piercing him, cataloging every reaction. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not in front of everyone. Not after years of dedication, of showing up early, staying late, covering for co-workers who never thanked him. He straightened in his chair, careful not to flinch, careful not to let the anger show. Instead, he smiled faintly. "I understand," he said calmly, his voice steady, calm, controlled, too controlled. His boss raised an eyebrow, expecting him to plead, to argue, to beg, but he said nothing else. He collected his things slowly, deliberately. A pen, a notebook, a framed photo of his son smiling in the park. Every movement precise, almost ritualistic. The room was tense. Some people whispered under their breath. Others stared, fascinated by his restraint. No one could figure out what he was thinking. He walked past his boss, nodded politely, and paused at the doorway. That's when he revealed it. From his pocket he pulled a small device, a prototype, sleek and shining under the fluorescent lights. He had been working on it secretly for months, during late nights and lunch breaks. The project, hidden from everyone, was designed to do what no one in the company had even attempted. He tapped it once. A quiet hum filled the room. Then a screen lit up, projecting data and designs into the air. Gasps echoed around him. The same co-workers who had just watched him get fired now stared in disbelief. This is what I've been working on," he said softly. "Something that will save the company millions. But apparently, it doesn't matter if you contribute until the bosses see it." Her jaw tightened. The confident smirk he had managed to keep now made her uneasy. The power balance had shifted in seconds. All those months of planning, of late nights, of thinking he was invisible, had culminated in this single quiet reveal. And while the office buzzed with murmurs of astonishment, he slipped out the door. Not defeated, not ashamed, but holding a secret that could change everything. And the world outside that office would have to wait for him to show it. The dismissal was public. The revelation, even bigger. He stepped out into the crisp air, the office building looming behind him like a cage he'd just escaped. The hum of city traffic filled the space where tension had been only moments ago. And for the first time, he allowed himself a slow exhale. He knew what everyone inside was thinking. Fired, that's the end. But they didn't know the full story. They hadn't seen the late nights, the personal sacrifices, the quiet innovation that no one had noticed. Now they would. Back in his small workshop, hidden in a rented garage downtown, the prototype awaited him. He had poured months of secret effort into it, sketches, coding, countless failed tests, but finally it worked. And soon the world would see. Meanwhile, inside the office, whispers spread like wildfire. Co-workers crowded around the projection, analyzing the floating designs, murmuring questions no one could answer. His boss hovered near the display, face pale, jaw tight, her authority challenged in ways she didn't expect. She had fired him without realizing that the very project he'd been quietly perfecting was worth far more than she could comprehend. He smiled faintly, imagining their shock when he revealed the full capabilities. The device wasn't just a company-level innovation. It had the potential to revolutionize the entire industry. All those months he had been just an employee were actually preparation for this moment of quiet vindication. By evening, news had spread. Someone had been fired. But the work he created was already changing the game. Analysts were speculating, competitors were watching, and his former colleagues still couldn't believe what they had missed. And he wasn't sitting back to gloat. He was planning his next steps. This wasn't revenge. It was proof that talent, creativity, and dedication couldn't stay hidden forever. The dismissal had been public, humiliating even. But it had also given him the freedom to act without corporate chains. As he powered up the device one last time, he whispered to himself, "They wanted me gone, but I still control the story." The irony wasn't lost on him. The same people who had mocked his quiet persistence were now powerless to stop the impact of his work. A single, calm individual, fired in public, was about to shift the balance completely. And he knew something else. This was just the beginning. The next morning the office was buzzing, but not in the way anyone expected. Screens across the company, lit up with live updates about the prototype he had revealed the night before. Investors were calling, journalists were asking for interviews, and even competitors were scrambling to understand what had been unveiled. Inside, his former boss stood frozen in the middle of the office floor, her staff circling the projection like moths to a flame. Every eye that had watched his dismissal now watched in awe, realization dawning like a storm. She had made a decision she now regretted, publicly and spectacularly. Meanwhile, he stayed hidden for now, observing from a distance. He didn't need their applause. He didn't need their approval. He'd created something that mattered, something that transcended office politics. And in a strange way, that victory felt sweeter because it had been earned quietly, away from the limelight. By midday, he returned to the office, not to plead or reclaim a position, but to witness the chaos and the admiration firsthand. Heads turned as he walked through the lobby, calm and confident, the very image of someone who had already won. Whispers followed him. Is that him? The one they fired? He approached the projection again, tapping a button on the device. The floating design shifted and expanded, revealing functions and innovations no one had yet imagined. Murmurs turned into gasps, astonishment, and finally applause. His boss swallowed hard, finally meeting his gaze. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted completely. Her authority remained, but the unspoken truth was clear. She had underestimated him. She had fired a man whose brilliance could not be contained by hierarchy, deadlines, or office politics. He smiled faintly and said nothing. Words were unnecessary. The impact of his work spoke louder than any argument. Around him, colleagues whispered, colleagues admired, and the world outside took notice. Later, in a quiet corner of the office, someone asked, "Why didn't you tell us about this before?" He leaned back, calm, almost amused. Because the right moment makes all the difference. And in that moment, the lesson was clear to everyone. Sometimes the quietest, most overlooked person holds the most powerful secrets. And being fired in public, it was just the opening act of an extraordinary story. The room had witnessed a downfall, but also the beginning of something unforgettable. If you want, I can also create